Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here in Charles City at this Valero facility. I'm very grateful. How about a big round of applause for Rich Walsh, who came in for this. Rich, thank you for your leadership. And to Eric and to Chad, and a special thanks, Eric, thank you for that lengthy introduction. I said, say everything you want about me, take as much time as you want. He said, here's Mike. Eric, thank you. Thanks for the warm hospitality today. More importantly, thanks for your great leadership here. And congratulations on all your success. I also want to thank, and you give him a big round of applause, Representative Charlie Thompson, who's here. Charlie, thank you so much. It is wonderful to be at Valero. I'm anxious to hear what's on your mind, any thoughts, any advice, but I always start these things the same way. I'm Mike Pence. I'm from Indiana, and I'm running for President of the United States of America. Thank you all for taking time, and I won't keep you long. It's a busy place. It goes 24/7, but I want to congratulate you all on your success. You know, I come from a state that starts in I and ends in A too. And that means I know something about agriculture. I know something about the incredible contribution that our renewables industry has made to not just rural America, but to, frankly, the economies of places like Iowa, like Indiana, and a whole lot of places all over the country. So I just want to congratulate you for being a part of not just an industry, but really being a part of a widening success here in Iowa. I heard an extraordinary number, Eric, about the number of jobs that are supported by the ethanol industry here and I know there's maybe 60 or 70 people here in this plant, but literally thousands and thousands of jobs directly supported all across this state. And so those of you that have been a part of this industry from very early on, I want to assure you that I'm a champion of this industry, champion of the opportunities it's created for agriculture and all across the heartland, and I want to congratulate each of you for your success. But listen, it's a challenging time in the life of our nation. We look at struggles in this economy. Last year we saw the worst inflation in 40 years. A dozen eggs still cost 50% more today than the day we left office. Gasoline's up 60%. We have a crisis at our border unheard of in American history. I must tell you, looking at all of these crises, including war raging in Eastern Europe and China continuing to menace across the Asia Pacific, I think we need new leadership in the White House. I think we need new leadership in the Republican Party, and I know the people of Iowa are going to do your part and give America the leadership that we need to turn this country around. And I must say, I've been incredibly impressed. We actually came to Iowa to announce our campaign for president back in June, and I've been incredibly impressed with the care with which people of Iowa take in this process. And so, let me tell you, I'm running for president because I think this country is in a lot of trouble. And I say with great humility, not having just been your vice president, but also the fact that I was a governor of a successful heartland state that showed you could cut taxes and balance budgets and make investments in infrastructure and education and even health care reform and have a growing economy. By the time I left office as governor of Indiana, Charlie, that we had the most number of Hoosiers ever working before in our state's history, and I'm incredibly proud of that record. But before that, I was also a leader in the Congress of the United States. I was a legislator in the national legislature. And I understand how we can get things done in Congress, and I understand how you can't get things done in Congress. And I look at the progress that we made during the Trump-Pence administration, and incredibly proud of the role that I played in helping to pass that tax cut and helping to unleash American energy, support this industry, but also do all the things that we were able to accomplish in those years. But so much of it's been undone in the last 2.5 years, but I just leave you with the word. I think if we have the right leadership, we can bring it all back. And the thing that I learned in my years as your vice president was this is a great country. And if you let people keep more of what they earn, you make the right investments, in border security, in national security. You support law enforcement without apology every day. Stand by our liberties and stand by our values. You take 3 steps back, America happens. And I truly do believe that unleashing American energy and all of the above energy strategy is all a part of American renewal. And I just promise you, if you give me your support in the Iowa caucuses that will take place in this state on January 15th, I promise you, I'll not only lead us to victory in 2024, but we'll bring this country all the way back in 2025. So help me God. So thank you very much. Love to hear what's on your mind. Love to hear what's on your mind. I started today in Ankeny at a fire department. Small gathering there, remembering what September 11th means to the American people. And I wouldn't have been anywhere else. Standing there, praying with, and thinking about the families that suffered loss 22 years ago. Just as much thinking about the heroes forged that day, and all the heroes in this generation who stepped forward the last 22 years to protect our country from that ever happening again. In fact, if there's any men and women here that were in the armed forces of the United States, would you hold your hand in the air so we can thank you one more time? Thank you for your service. Last thing I'll tell you is just a little bit about me. I've been married to a school teacher for 38 years. Karen Pence was the best second lady the United States of America has ever had. She's a remarkable mom, remarkable grandmother, and an incredible leader in her own right. She's got a book coming out next month entitled When It's Your Turn to Serve, Experiencing God's Grace and the Calling in Your Life. And it really chronicles her incredible leadership and her contributions to this country. Together we've raised 3 kids. Our son Michael is a captain in the United States Marine Corps, who I'm proud to say is a fighter pilot and just reported to Top Gun today in Fallon, Nevada. Our daughter Charlotte's a best-selling author and she's married to one of my unworthy son-in-laws. Henry's also a fighter pilot. He flies the F-18 of the United States Navy. And our daughter Audrey is a working prosecutor married to a young man who was the first civilian employee of the Space Force. So we're incredibly proud of our kids, but we also, the last 3 years, found out that the only reason we had kids so we could have grandkids. And we saw the birth of not 1, not 2, but 3 of the most beautiful granddaughters actually ever born in the history of the world. So we're incredibly blessed. And honestly, I'll end where I began and just tell you, our life's been pretty good the last 2.5 years. We moved home to Indiana, bought a John Deere riding mower, got 5 acres and a pond, got a Ford Ranger. Back in Indiana, we're just Mike and Karen. It might have been easy to sit this one out, but I was raised to believe to whom much is given, much will be required. And I feel like our family's been blessed with not just opportunities to serve, but really our family's really lived the American dream. And when I look at everything this country's facing today, we just knew we had to come forward and offer our brand of leadership, our unique experience to this, and I'd be grateful for your consideration. With that, any questions, any comments? I'd love to hear more about what you do here or anything you're curious about.
Yeah.
Is it Brooke or Brock?
Brock.
Hey, Brock.
Test. So here at Valero, we're working on capturing our CO2.
I saw that. We just saw that.
That's one of our co-products of our fermentation.
Yeah.
And we're shipping it on a pipeline to sequester the carbon and create a cleaner environment. I believe this is important if we want to keep up with countries such as Brazil in the market. So my question for you is, what would you do to help support the CCS projects?
Well, I think it's a great question, Brock. And I'm very impressed to see the CO2 capture technology. I think part of that is that you've got to have the infrastructure to be able to transport those materials, right? And so I just came from another location where we heard about the need to make sure that we have pipelines for that. I mean, one of the things that it's been most disappointing to me over the last 2.5 years is where our administration unleashed American energy. We not only supported renewables, but we allowed for the development of oil and coal and natural gas, encouraged clean technologies. We opened up Alaska. We opened up vast reserves of natural gas in this country. We actually achieved, Brock, we achieved energy independence for the first time in 75 years. And I believe if I become your president, we can not only achieve energy independence again, but I believe in the next 10 years we can reclaim our historic role as the #1 producer of energy in the world. Anybody else down for that? But it's going to take leadership and vision, and also it's going to take undoing this war on energy that the Biden administration's launched from the very beginning. And on day one, President Biden shut down the Keystone and Dakota pipelines. They offlined vast areas of our federal lands. Just last week, you may have seen in the newspaper, they offlined vast areas of Alaska for oil exploration. All the while that we're going to Saudi Arabia with hat in hand, asking them to pump more. And they say no. And then even going to Venezuela, dictatorship under Nicolas Maduro, and trying to work out a deal to get more oil. Look, I'm somebody that believes that we've got to make sure that we have a commitment to develop all the resources of this land. But to your point, with that carbon capture that you're doing here today, we've got to make sure we have the infrastructure to be able to move energy around this country. And here's the other thing, and I commend you for that new technology, to Eric and Rich and everybody here. It's inspiring. And one of the things I'm proud of is, look, we can't have America being in these one-sided global energy deals like the Paris Climate Accord, right? I mean, the Paris Climate Accord basically said we're going to hamstring American energy. We're going to have these new draconian limits on carbon production. And then China, you can get to it 10 years down the road. India, you can get to it in a decade down. That doesn't work. But what's interesting, you may not know, Brock, is that we actually reduced carbon emissions in this country more than what the Paris Climate Accord called for during our 4 years in the White House. But we did it through American innovation, right? And through developing clean energy technologies in this country. We literally exceeded the goals of the Paris Climate Accord without the mandates. And that, to me, is the pathway forward for us. And it's also the pathway forward for our environment. So, it begins with ending the war on energy, having the infrastructure that we need, promoting the kind of innovation that you're introducing here, all of the above energy. But then also moving away from this Green New Deal stuff that's all designed just to drive American consumers into higher cost energy in an effort to achieve some future Joe Biden thinks about, ending fossil fuels, which is never should happen and is never going to happen. Okay, and I'll just tell you flatly, I think the source of American greatness from our founding has always been our faith in God, our freedom, and our vast natural resources. And the people of this country know. To revive this country, we've got to revive our faith, we've got to revive our freedom, and we've got to let the American people develop the natural resources in this land, in everything. Great question.
Any other questions?
Can be anything you want to know, what kind of pets I have, anything. Any issues at all, doesn't have to just be energy. But Lance, hi.
What kind of pets you like? My question, I don't have a young mind like me, so I'm cheap.
Yeah.
What is your plan to become president to support the use of ethanol and other renewable fuels to not only increase our energy security, but to strengthen our economy?
Yeah. Well, to me, it's renewables, ethanol, biofuels, wind, solar, all of the above. It all is part of the picture. But the reality is that way more than 90% of our energy needs are going to be met with traditional fossil fuels. Okay. And that can begin to change over time by introducing renewables, but not by the kind of mandates in the Green New Deal and the liberal plans that are coming out of Washington, D.C. today, let alone this business you got out in California where they say you can't buy an internal combustion car after, I think 2030, you won't even be able to buy a new car in the state of California that runs on gasoline or blended fuels. That makes, to me, those kind of mandates are only going to hurt the American economy. They're only going to hurt consumers. But it is the approach you need to understand here. Where I was telling Barack, I'm a big believer in free market economics. Let the consumers look. I don't have any problem. You want to have an electric car, great. That's your decision. But I don't want to create the kind of mandates and incentives that cause you to have to pay $15,000 more for a car just to satisfy some green energy agenda out of Washington, D.C. So that to me is the essence of it here. It's about having an all of the above strategy that develops all of these, but recognizes that we can continue to use oil, coal, natural gas with the technology we have today and with increasingly improved technology to meet our energy needs. And that's a strategy we'll take care of. All of the above.
Next question. Paul, did you have one? Oh, okay, good.
Mr. Vice President, you want to kind of talk through foreign policy? We've got a lot of stuff out there. So you got some ideas?
I do. Let me just say, maybe this is particularly poignant on a day like today. That disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan, led by the Biden administration, was a disgrace. And it dishonored the service and sacrifice of 20 years of American service members who fought in that country. But that being said, nothing of that disastrous withdrawal will ever diminish the honor that is owed to every soldier, sailor, airman, and Marine who fought for our freedom and defended this country. The truth is that withdrawal from Afghanistan has emboldened the enemies of freedom around the world. It has. I mean, I will tell you, the war in Ukraine, I know, has become the topic. And I know people have concerns about our involvement there. I'm somebody that believes in that old Reagan doctrine that says if you're willing to fight our enemies with your soldiers, we'll give you the means to fight them there so we don't have to fight them. I mean, I hold the view that the United States, look, we can solve our problems here at home. We can secure our border. We can tackle inflation. We can bring law and order to our cities, and we can still be the leader of the free world. Anybody who tells you that we can't do both has a pretty small view of the greatest nation on earth, okay? But I would tell you, I think it's important that we continue to provide the Ukrainian military what they need to repel that Russian invasion. Because I have no doubt, if Vladimir Putin runs over Ukraine, it's not going to be too long before he crosses the border of a NATO country where our men and women in uniform would have to go fight. I mean, that's the treaty obligation. It's called Article 5 under NATO. The only time it's ever been used, basically says if you attack one NATO country, everybody comes together and fights back. It's been used once, Article 5. It was after 9/11. And all those NATO countries went with us to Afghanistan. All of them. And so there wouldn't really be any choice if Russia rolled over one of the other borders that they want to roll over. All that being said, I will tell you that I think the key for us going forward is to restore the kind of deterrence in our military that's necessary to discourage not only Russia, but more importantly, China from engaging in attempting to redraw international lines by force. We have the strongest military in the world today. You can applaud that, Denny, if you want. You like that. It's absolutely true. We do. But I'm going to tell you what, China's dropping a new battleship in the Asia Pacific every month. And this administration has been working to cut military spending since they came into office. And frankly, if they don't, you may already know this debt deal that they just did, debt ceiling deal they just did in Washington, if they don't pass all their spending bills in the next year, it's a 1% cut in defense spending in 2025. Now is not the time for us to be cutting defense spending. And if I'm president of the United States, we're not just going to rebuild the military, we're going to build a military fitted to the widening challenges of the 21st century, because you achieve peace through strength. I believe that. Other questions? Anything, home and abroad?
Don't be shy.
Okay, time for one more.
Time for one more. And then I'm available for selfies, whatever you need. It's great.
All right. Well, I was going to make Chad call on someone, but we won't do that. Just want to, please, stand up and applaud Vice President Mike Pence. I just really want to appreciate you coming out. I mean, really a man of God. So if you're interested in a selfie, please feel free. We'll make a line over here, and you can have your picture, and then you're free to move about the country.
I just want to thank you all again. I want to congratulate Team Valero.